when you stick 3 opinionated blokes in a room and put World of
Torghast
Warcraft in front of them.
A completely unchained view from each of them that clash in spectacular fashion, much like the best raids of all time. Classic.
There's going to be someone who's always right and someone who's always wrong, like Dunkirk is, as we know the latest raids are much better.
So, with that in mind, it's time to take a look at the latest Warcraft news and speculation. But be careful what you wish for, because
You think you do,
but you don't. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is the Almighty Farsi, and you may have noticed that the intro or the transition into our show today was a little weird. There may have been some
a little
voices,
weird is
voices upon the
is
wind.
Exaggeration.
Voices upon the wind. I don't know. Would you two have anything to do or have any idea about what that was?
No,
To do with what?
You just missed them. Dick and Dom were in here a minute ago.
Yeah.
Bloody Dick and Dom in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a BAFTA. I'll have you know.
It's true. Do you have a BAFTA?
No. Why would I want to?
doesn't
Well,
have
there
a
we
bath.
go then. You have a bath.
I do have
Actually,
a
no,
bath.
he does. He does have a bath.
I do own a bathtub. That is a thing that I own. It should be just mandatory. Anyway, welcome to You Think You Do But You Don't, episode 32. Yep, episode 32. I almost said 31 again. Episode 32 on the 6th of June 2020 here on Warcraft Radio on Twitch.tv. And also for, well, let's just say the last time, YouTube. We'll explain that in a bit. But anyway, welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome. Good job, Farsi.
Sorry, I'm just trying to sort out.
Hi.
Yes, thank
To
you.
continue the tradition, we have gubbed the intro up.
Again. Yep.
I'm going to blame Farsi here, naturally,
Yep.
because it seems to be the logical answer here. There are a couple of things, obviously, that we want to get out of the way first. As you can see, we're going to be discussing Ardenweald, Torghast changes that have recently come in that I feel like if we spoke about it anymore, we're going to be flogging a dead horse, but this horse needs to be flogged.
It's not my decision to put it back on there, trust me. Although, thankfully, there has been a conclusion met, and Blizzard is the one who gave the good answer. But we'll go through it. We'll go through the steps. But yes.
So to start off with, obviously, the first piece is the world in general and what's been happening. It's been a bit crazy, been a bit wild, and quite frankly, for good reason. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on. Multiple people have obviously said multiple different things. Here at Warcraft Radio, we 100% support everybody that is at the moment protesting. We're 100% supporting all change and everything like that. So, for those of you that are protesting, and for everyone that this means a lot to, us at You Think You Do But You Don't are 100% behind you, and the entirety of the Warcraft Radio family are behind you as well. So keep doing what you're doing, and if again we're there for you if you need someone to talk to at the very least. We're always in Discord, so hit us up if you need to. The second bit of news isn't quite as serious, but it is to do with YouTube. Farsia, do you wish to explain exactly what's going on there?
Sure. So we're going through a little bit of I'd say experimental period, or transition period, which is one of the reasons why I named the episode Transition, where we are. Well, basically, what's going to be happening is the episodes of You Think You Do But You Don't, as well as Heart of Azeroth and all the others, are going. You're immature. Are going to be get removed from YouTube. That doesn't mean that the shows are going anywhere. What?
You didn't press your push to talk.
Oh, you saw me talking. It's fine. But basically,
we have the stream open.
it's a good job you do, isn't it? But yes, so we're going to be removed from YouTube. So that means that the shows aren't going anywhere. In terms of like the shows are still going to be put up. We're still going to be here on Twitch. We're still going to be putting them up on the regular podcast. So if you're listening via audio at the moment, don't worry. Nothing's going to change there at all. It's just YouTube right now.
It's just good business.
Just good business. Our Lord and Master Atlas is making some changes. He's trying some things out to see if we can find ways to sort of improve and help support the station some more. And so bear with us as we're going through these teething problems, I suppose is a small way to put it. But yeah, that means content will still be put up on the YouTube channel. So that means alpha content will still be up there, round table, any events, any other video stuff is all going to be all put up on YouTube. It's just the show episodes for now, which is going to be off of YouTube. So if you are watching on YouTube for this for the time that this episode is up there, please come and see us live on Twitch, or you can check out the Twitch VODs. I know not a lot of people do that, but that's possible. You can also go to Spotify and other podcast areas to download or listen to You Think You Do, but you don't, just audio-wise there as well. So there are plenty of different ways you can still watch or listen to the show. It's just not on YouTube while we're making some changes.
Yes, it's currently an uphill battle with YouTube. Unfortunately, we're in a position where it's almost impossible to actually speak to anybody at YouTube. So we're playing this all by ear. The shows may come back to YouTube at this point in time. We just don't know. Anyway, that is a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. We've obviously dealt with some of the issues that we do need to speak about. Now it's time to get into the meat of the show. We've obviously going to be talking about Ardenweald. That has managed to make its way to the beta in all of its blue glory. That zone is very, very blue. And we've obviously been playing through it. I think I did a mammoth 7-hour stream where I was going through Ardenweald and all the changes. We've also seen some changes to Torghast on the beta or the alpha. It's not even beta yet. On the alpha,
we're going to be saying that sentence a lot before Shadowlands comes out.
Yeah. Torghast has changed, and again, it's something to do with the way timers work, and I know it's a bit of contention between some of the members here at You Think You Do But You Don't, and we're going to look at some possible solutions to that, or where we're going with it. And obviously the AQ stockpile situation. We know that AQ is quite close, I'd imagine. I think, Dunkirk, you mentioned it was probably within about next month, within about the next 4 weeks, you imagined?
Oh yeah, I think a month and a half, and we'll have the event starting up.
Yeah. So we obviously want to discuss a little bit about that, and if there are any #sensible changes that need to take place during the AQ war effort.
So many.
And I know, so many sensible changes.
Many.
Apparently Dunkirk's really quiet, so speak up, use your Scottish.
Yeah, I have you at like
heritage
150%. Like, why are you so quiet?
Well, it's a good thing your bar goes to 200% and then at first year.
He's just like,
He's got a point.
He's like, turn me up even more.
I can't turn
Go
up
to
anyone
page
myself,
364.
I know Dunkirk's doing the ASMR version of You Think You Do But You Don't this week.
Scottish people can't do ASMR.
Excuse you?
Ken Powell, you want to go down the shops and buy a can of brew?
There we go, see that? Scottish ASMR.
Okay, alright.
That was easy. That was easy.
Okay.
Very, very easy. Speaking of ASMR, Ardenweald is a zone that I think should entirely be voice acted in ASMR.
Let's talk about that first. Is it Ardenweald or Ardenweald?
So from how
Ardenweald.
I have seen from how I've seen the developers pronounce it, it's Ardenweald.
Yes, but how
So
many
it's
of the
neither.
developers are German?
Well, that was when I see that, I immediately think German. I'm like Ardenweald. I pronounce that with a V. But
Yeah, that's because W doesn't exist in German.
Yeah,
Ardenweald.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like Ardenweald. It just sounds
yeah.
quick.
So I don't know.
Is it Weald? What is it?
I believe it is Weald, because I think a Weald is an actual sort of like forested location, I believe.
The more you know.
I believe.
I don't. No, it is. Oh, the Weald is an area of southeast England between the parallel chalk and escapements of the North and South Downs. It crosses the counties of Hampshire, Surrey, and Sussex and Kent.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So it is. I'm pretty sure
It's a real place.
Yeah. So it is. I would imagine kind of like a forested area. So Ardenweald does kind of make sense, I suppose, in that regard.
Okay, might I just ask, are you coming through the right mic?
I would assume so.
Because this honestly is the quietest I've heard you for a long time, and it's just I do have you 190%, and I've never had to put you this high ever. It's just really weird.
Well, you know, sometimes it is what I mean. If I turn the gain dial, hold on, don't know which one's gain.
Oh,
That
game
one?
dial's a bad
That
idea.
one?
Oh,
That one?
Oh,
Is it that one?
oh,
Is it that one?
no!
Is that better? Are you happy now?
Jesus.
Ah.
I apologize to our audio listeners.
Yeah, our audio listeners are now deafened.
Oh Christ. Okay, I think you might be at some sort of okay volume now. Jeez. Okay.
I literally put the dial back to where it was.
But now I've got you 130, and now you're much louder. Like, what the hell? Okay, it's you.
What are your mics doing?
Yeah,
Just get a decent mic, guys.
You're one to talk.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Yes, I
Captain
am.
cut out.
Captain.
When was the last time that happened?
God,
Not even a month ago.
I've had this longer than a month.
What was that group? Captain cut out, Captain fade out, which is Rav, and just got everyone just captain of something.
Yeah, me and C, the part of the decent mic squad. Get it up, yees.
I don't know. Safe's mic's pretty bad. I mean, if he got a good mic, it maybe wouldn't have broke.
Well, actually, hang on. Speaking of Captain Fade Out, Rav is in chat. Thank you for joining us, Rav. Yeah, back on topic. Ardenweald. Ardenweald was released. We were trying to figure out exactly when it was going to come out. We now know that the last zone is Maldraxxus. Maldraxxus seems to be the 52, 53 to 55.
Do we know Maldraxxus is the last zone?
How do you...
Surprise! Extra zone! We don't know about. That no one has found. It's heading off the map. It's Farallon. You wanted it. So here you go, have Farallon.
Could you imagine that?
It's like,
Could
not
you
enough
imagine?
for you? That's fine. Do you ever want to see the Underdark in WoW? Well, you're going in Azure Narub proper in Shadowlands.
Okay.
I
mean,
wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't say no. I'd be like, yeah, sure, go for it.
Yep.
Extra stuff is never bad.
These are free patch ideas you can use at any point throughout Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Don't use them, please.
Yeah.
There are so many zones you didn't use.
So obviously Shadowlands is level 55 to 57, and I've got to say it is a very, very well put together zone in regards to actual XP. I didn't have any rested XP. I started bang on 0 XP of 55, and by the time I finished, or at least believe I finished, I'm not sure, because there is currently a disconnect loop that I'm going to mention shortly. But we also have a sort of like a moment where it's, you get towards the end and you're basically 55. So it does do a really good job of bridging the gap between those two levels that you have.
Kexman.
Hello.
Duncan, did you hear what I heard?
Yeah, I heard him say. So it's good to know that the level cap in Shadowlands is 57.
You said Shadowlands is 55 to 57.
Sorry, I meant Ardenweald.
Oh, right.
We're going to have an interesting start to the expansion. You're going to start at level 50, somehow get yourself to 57. Presumably, you just grind Nyalofa.
Yeah, and then you just got to grind from 57 to 60, just like in Classic.
Yeah.
You just got to grind.
Yeah.
Back to people wanted it like it was in Classic. There you go. Your last 3 levels just got to grind out.
It's a forest zone. It's green. I haven't actually played the alpha this week yet.
It's not green.
It's blue.
It's very blue.
It's
blue and
turquoise.
purple. It's
turquoise.
So it's not green
over
at all.
The color now, is that what we're arguing
It's
over?
greenish blue. Is it bluish green or greenish blue?
I mean, there are some greens in there. I'll say that.
I'm going to go to somewhere that does paint, and can I have Ardenweald green, please, just to see what they give me?
Like, that sounds like off-brand Games Workshop paints.
Ardenweald green.
Ardenweald green.
Ardenweald green, Bastion gold,
Gom's whack job.
Maldraxxus. So it'd be Ardenweald blue, Maldraxxus green, Bastion gold, Revendreth red, and the more black. There you go.
I thought it would be a little bit of Bastion white.
Bastion white.
Just get them colors on the canvas, make them look pretty. Get some happy little trees in there.
Exactly.
But okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah. No,
Yes, I haven't played it yet.
I
I remember what it looks like.
I've played a little. As I expressed to Kexman when I first started playing, it seems a little. So when you first start in Ardenweald, like it starts out okay, and then it feels as though it gets a little chaotic. Like I'm one of these people who like to follow the story. I know Dunkirk is one of these people who doesn't really read quest text and just like blasts through it. So on both sides of the spectrum, I went through and I was a little confused even about 10 minutes in. I was like, wait, what the hell's going on? What am I doing? What is happening? And it was confusing in the sense that, not a good kind of confusing, like, oh my god, this situation is so manic. It was like, okay, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing.
Which confuses...
I did get my bearings later. Like, once I got past, like, certain bits, I got to, like, right, okay... okay, I'm sort of getting a bit of an idea of what I'm doing, but in terms of if we're just comparing to Revendreth and Bastion, which everything seemed rather straightforward in terms of what you're doing, with some varying levels through it, this one did seem a little more odd in how it told the story, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a different sort of story. So Bastion is very much a case of you're introduced to it's the first place you go to, obviously, after being released from the Maw, or so we believe. And you introduce yourself to the Kyrian, and you then learn more about them. You go on, you help them. It's fairly standard fare. Same sort of thing happens in Revendreth. You meet, obviously, the forces of Denathrius, and again, you are taken through Revendreth. You're helping out the forces. Ardenweald is slightly different. Obviously, we don't quite know how the story lines up in that regard, because you're coming from Maldraxxus. It does mention Maldraxxus in the starting quest, so there is a direct connection there. But it works slightly differently in that you're introduced to characters and you are told that you're supposed to be meeting the Night Queen, who's rather busy at the moment. So you have to head from where you join down to a place called Turghast, and along that road there are various different people alongside it that basically offer you quests. So you're moving down the road doing these quests, and it is slightly different. I wouldn't quite say it's chaotic, because it definitely doesn't feel chaotic. There is a storyline there, which is you're going to Turghast and you're helping people along the way, and it's it does do it in quite an easy, quite a nice way. It's you never get lost because you are just following this one road, but it is something different to have. Instead of being treated as this big thing, you're treated as, oh, okay, cool, go and do some very menial tasks. You're not treated as this, you are literally just coming across people and then going, oh, hey, could you help me with this, as they would with anybody, which I think is quite a nice change.
We got a wish, Dunkirk. We're no longer champions. We're actually just people doing menial tasks.
For one entire zone. Meanwhile, every other zone's like, Maw Walker, you're finally here.
Yeah. We don't know about Maldraxxus yet, though. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we don't know. So Maldraxxus, we could turn up and they could be like, who are you? Get out. Piss off. I don't want you here. Go away.
Scrub.
You treat the exact opposite.
You don't have enough bones on you to be in this area.
Yeah, exactly. All your bones are in you. That's disgraceful. Sort it out.
F in the chat for the undead who can now hide bones in Shadowlands.
Yeah, exactly. We obviously, spoilers for Ardenweald. If you don't want to listen to spoilers for Ardenweald, mute your VOD, mute us on YouTube, mute us on podcasting. If you don't want to listen to Ardenweald, there we go. I've given you the chance to now do that.
Well, I'll come back later.
So Ardenweald.
No, you stay. You've got to stay.
Ardenweald obviously has a very, very sort of very different feel towards the end. You're introduced quite early to I'm trying to remember what they call it. I'm going to call them soul nuts, because that's essentially what they are. I can't remember the exact term for them, but the way it works is everyone that ends up in Ardenweald, it's a soul nut. That's exactly what it is, a soul nut. And prove me wrong. The way it works in Ardenweald is people that end up going there, various different. We know that wild gods, lower, that sort of stuff, end up in Ardenweald. We know that there is that sort of, that connection. The souls end up going into what I can only describe as like a bulb or a nut, hence soul nut, and that's what it's being called. They end up in those, and
soul bulb, soul seed.
Oh no, I think it's wild seed. Is it wild seed? No, soul nut. I'm sticking with soul nut, and that's what's happening. I'm sticking with soul nut because that sounds so much better.
Soul nutting everywhere. It's not appropriate.
Yes.
I'm very, very valid. It's like, oh, you start life like you're Hakar the Soul Flare. No, you're a soul nut.
Oh my god.
Hakar the Soul Flayer to Hakar the Soul Nutter. It's
just
it happens.
Just because you're dead doesn't mean the mood doesn't strike.
Exactly. So you end up helping out these various. There's obviously the overarching story of Shadowlands, which is the anima drought, which is causing issues with bringing people back to life, bringing these souls into Ardenweald properly. Ardenweald. I keep saying Ardenweald. It's Ardenweald. God damn it. And
it's English even.
Exactly. There is one specific soul nut that you help, and you kind of almost form a connection with, and it is not even subtle how they sort of lay out this storyline for who is in this soul nut, for who is going to be, who's going to be hatching out of it, if you will.
Is this an Irish?
And no, Ysera.
Oh.
Apparently, it is really subtle. It must be super subtle. And you just picked up on it, Kicks.
No. When I'm saying it's not subtle at all, I'm going to. It's literally there is a line after you channel anima into this soul nut, and then the other person tries to channel anima into it, and it knocks them back.
Stop calling it that.
I'm going to call them because that's what they are.
I'm accepting of this.
Thank you.
That's it. That's what
soul nut, and they even say something along the lines of, I can't believe you've had such a reaction. This person, this soul must be a dreamer. I cannot wait for them to awake. And it's so.
I know who that is. Staghelm.
Yes.
God damn it. No, it
Finally, we get the fulfillment to Staghelm's storyline. The redemption arc that we needed.
It's not even subtle to it being Ysera. So eventually what happens is you go through the zone, you're constantly helping, and occasionally this soul nut comes up and you help it, you give it anima, you help it grow, and then at the end you actually directly engage with the soul nut. You go into the sort of the dreams, the thoughts, and it then becomes very, very clear. It's definitely Ysera. You deal with a lot of the, a lot of the visions, that happens alongside the, like Galacrond. You kind of deal with that. You don't see Galacrond directly, and there, I believe, is a placeholder model that we're going to get into later. Because
Galacrond is mentioned so many times. Like Blizzard,
not up, Wizard, not up. Big Dragon Daddy, do it.
They always. Blizzard do cock tease Galacrond like throughout the expansion here and there. It's like, oh Galacrond, and then they never do anything with it, and you're like, stop it, stop doing that.
Get some help.
Yes, if you're gonna do it, do it. Don't tease Galacrond and then go, oh, actually, story didn't really ask for it. Then don't tease him. Like, god damn it.
Galacrond is huge though, but that's just do it. Just do it. Have him blot out the sun. Just have a big dragon daddy.
He's not that big. We've seen his skeleton. It can't be that much bigger than his skeleton was. What, maybe 10% bigger?
Yeah, maybe, I suppose.
Yeah,
if that.
10% body fat.
10% body fat, no organs. Nothing. Just 10% body fat.
He's a dragon, they don't have organs. We've seen inside Deathwing. He's not about lava.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
He's an exception.
Very, very good point.
Quite an exception.
Now, the storyline does have an end. We currently can't access it, and there is. It's
X-Men may have got.
It seems to have. But everyone's getting locked out. As soon as they get to that point, everyone is getting locked out. And this is tinfoil hat conspiracy time, okay?
Christ.
All I'm going to say is we've had the end of the leveling quest in we've had the end of the leveling quest in Bastion. We kind of know how that ends because we go to Oribos, but we don't know the end of the Bastion story completely. So obviously there's going to be something to do with Bluther. There's going to be something there to do with everything, you know, with the Moor Walker, with the Moor Kyrian. Can't remember their names. And so that hasn't been discovered yet. Revendreth, which is a zone as well. When you get to the end of Revendreth in the leveling experience, you get to the last part of it, and you get caught in a DC loop. Everyone gets caught in a DC loop.
Do you?
Yeah.
I thought Revendreth ended with the Star Wars style scroll.
It ends with the Star Wars style scroll, but you can't you can't log
again?
into your Star Wars style scroll. That was actually really difficult to say.
Star Wars scroll.
Skull. But there is a very particular you know, my character's currently locked out. I tried to log back in after the latest patch. DC looped, couldn't get back in. Ardenweald, DC looped, can't get in to deal with the ending of the Soul Nut. Is this potentially a way Blizzard are stopping spoilers?
Maybe.
It's a very ham-fisted way of doing it.
Oh well.
No, here's what it is. Because we haven't seen it this alpha cycle, the Thrall cinematic is corrupted. It's trying to play in all of those zones, and that's what's there. You go.
Sloot was able to finish the quest line. Oh, he was able to log back in. Huh. Okay.
Interesting.
You're just bad kicks, man. That's how it is.
I guess that's the
Try
takeaway.
harder.
I guess that's what we're taking away from this. Yeah. Sorry, Kex. Sloot.
He got moved.
He's shown you. He got moved. That sounds like
He
special.
got moved forward?
Sounds like special treatment. That does.
That does sound like special treatment. I'm going to request that my character is.
No, don't move Kexmans. I'm just saying that's special treatment. Don't give it to
move Kexmans, but move him to like a 1 pixel wide tile in the middle of the void outside all the zones.
That'd be cool. I'd be fine with that. I'd be at peace finally.
At peace. Even in the
Yeah,
Shadowlands,
exactly.
Kexman has not found peace.
Yep, not found peace at all.
What a shame.
But no,
No, because every zone we go to is at war with itself.
well, yeah, at war with itself and everyone else. It does. It kind of Ardenweald does continue that storyline of certain people being upset with how, you know, the anima drought is going. There's a couple of moments in Ardenweald where you see people going, "Well, this is slightly unfair. Why are we only giving these soul nuts anima and these ones not?" It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And there is an overarching story that goes along the anima drought of unrest in the Shadowlands. And is this going to be something that, moving forward, we end up where we have all of the zones in full-on civil war with each other because of the anima drought?
It's
Is
been
that something
explained,
that...
Kexman. It's the purpose. This is the purpose. This is the way.
That's why we're there. Yeah, we're gonna bust open the jailer, collect all the loot that he drops because he's carrying a bunch of epics on him for some reason.
Naturally.
And then we're just gonna rip out all the anima from him and throw it into the rest of Shadowlands. But there you go, job done.
No, wait, Dunkirk.
Job
Hold there, Dunkirk.
Oh, no.
As eager as you are to dispense justice upon the evil, there has been a lot of
I just
speculation.
want purples.
There has been a lot of speculation surrounding the Arbiter and how the Arbiter is not all they seem to be either. And that the jailer might not necessarily be the most evil thing.
God no.
Well, this...
I mean,
No.
what? Blizzard do
The
twists.
man is look at the jailer's model. That is a villain. It's a villain.
Did you just
has a
assume
black-
his alignment?
Hold on,
She has a black void where his heart would be.
Hold on there, sir. You are correct.
So do I.
However, you are very much a villain. That's a very
You're
weak
also a
argument.
villain.
That's a very weak argument.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But Illidan was also a villain. However, he was doing things for the right reasons.
No. Illidan was never a villain.
Yes, he was.
No.
Maiev just really wanted to arrest him.
And they also wanted to kill him in Outland because he took over and was ruling them.
Right?
He was a villain.
No. Because who did they take Outland over from, Farseer?
Yeah, he took it out from Legion, but as you heard from Akama, he only traded one evil leader for another. It turned out in the end that he wasn't doing evil
That's
things.
because a Kama is a meth addict. Look at him.
True.
Wow.
True.
Oh, that's a spicy take right there.
That's what it is.
Big true. That's essentially what the Broken are, though.
Yeah, there's other Draenei on Outland that didn't get turned into Broken when the planet exploded. So I'm saying,
Shatarath, just go to Shatarath.
Yeah.
Shatarath is fine. Why didn't you go to Shatarath?
Yeah.
Kexman, there seems to be someone in the chat that's trying to plagiarize you called Kexman Wooker. Terrible. What's the world coming to these days when people
What is this world coming to?
What is when your name's not even sacred anymore, Kexman Wooker? You should be ashamed of yourself.
Just disgraceful. Who would do that?
I know.
It's like that time you had to be K-free X-Man.
Oh god, yeah. It happens all the time. That's why I changed it to Kexman Wooker, because I couldn't just have Kexman, so I had to
Kexman
change it to
Wooker.
that.
I love it.
And I was fed up of looking at that extra X. I didn't know Kexman had fans. I don't. It's very, very simple.
He sadly does. But it's yeah. Anyway, so yeah, no, we'll see what comes of that. Like, because okay,
I mean, I think the question, the big question for Ardenweald is there. You know, obviously we don't quite know how it ends yet. Sloot was able to get through. We'll see if that changes for everyone. You said it was a little bit. You felt it was a little bit, I suppose, disjointed is the word, rather than chaotic at the start. Did it get better as you were going through? Did you enjoy the zone as a whole?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the zone. I just felt it's just kind of difficult to start off with. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, you know, maybe it's because I haven't sort of locked on to, okay, I'm following this pixie, and the pixie is also mixing in with these dryad things, and they're all moving around. I'm like, okay, wait, so who am I following? What am I doing? Once I kind of got into it a bit more, yes, it has made a bit more sense. Like I've said, it's a very nice zone. The story is sort of like, you know, kind of coming together, and of course there are very nice models and what have you. So it's all sort of like come together to make it a little bit more sense. I haven't got into it that far just yet. I've only got to the part where the dryads have ran from a grove, and you go there and there's like some dark stuff going on, and the grove is not like the rest of Ardenweald. It's kind of dark, like corrupted and just sort of everything's kind of just fading. And that's all I've got so far. So I haven't got really far at all. But I have got to the soul nut part, and I
soul nuts.
And yes, I have got to that part. So there's still a bit more to do. I'm taking my time with it a bit. I'm also recording some footage for the zone video as well. So, you know, it's we're getting there slowly. I'm not rushing it because, like, at the end of the day, Revendreth, we all bashed through it, and then there was just nothing. And then the same with Bastion, the same with everything. So I'm like, okay, there's literally no need to rush through it because it's going to be here for a while.
Yeah. It's also difficult, I suppose. Each zone does have its own self-contained story, and it is difficult to, I suppose, judge in a linear storyline. For something like BFA, it's very easy to judge each zone on its story because there's no linear story.
Yeah, they're all garbage.
All of them. I mean, oof, none of them really stick out for me. The only ones, legitimately, the only quest line that sticks out for me is the one in Voldenai with Dolly and Dot, and that is it. I don't get that. Is it? That's all I care about.
It's because all the zone quests in BFA are garbage.
What about Born Someday?
Garbage.
Okay, Bon Someday, yeah. Well, no, I more, when I think of Bon Someday, I think of the character, not the quest.
Okay.
So, BFA, obviously, each zone was its own self-contained story. Now, with Shadowlands, and Legion kind of had a similar sort of thing. Legion definitely had more of an overarching story.
Well, no, the BFA had overarching, like, I mean, the Horde side had overarching. The Alliance side didn't, but the Horde side definitely had an overarching storyline.
Yeah, Gahun.
Zul was going around all the temples to release Gahun.
Yes, that's true.
That only happened in Voldenai.
No.
And Nazmir.
And Nazmir, because that's where.
Let's show and the Great
Yes,
Seal.
It does.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's okay. But no, but I don't remember that. That's how bad it is. Normally, I'd remember that sort of quest line. And you look at Legion and the way Legion works. It's definitely, you know, Legion was the superior leveling experience over BFA. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I would agree.
That said, what is the storyline for Azuna in Legion?
Azuni, you're giving redemption to the elves that were killed and went against Queen Ajara and then regretted it really painfully.
Right.
Yeah.
But also dragon.
But also dragon,
Reasons.
yes.
Dragon is involved,
and junkie.
Dragon and Junkie, yes.
Yeah. But BFA leveling wasn't fantastic, and I think part of that is because it was the Horde and having the Horde and the Alliance have their own areas and then visiting them occasionally sounded really good on paper. Execution, less so. Now
There's a big reason that gets a thumbs down from, and should get a thumbs down from everyone. No B mount for Horde.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we not know how to put a saddle on a bee?
Manga disagree with the Legion to the BFA leveling for Alliance specifically. Yes, because Alliance won this expansion. Like, in terms of leveling, in terms of zone, they had much better story and everything.
It definitely does feel as though BFA, although there were threads to Gahun and stuff, it was a Horde-only thread. There was no actual overarching, I would say, expansion storyline to do with that one. Shadowlands Legion had that because you had the Legion. That was they were fairly obvious in every single zone. In BFA, you didn't so much.
BFA had the faction war. Actually, no old gods.
Yeah, exactly. Then you end up with Shadowlands. Now, Shadowlands obviously has the anima drought that is every single zone we have been into has been hammered home that this anima drought is happening. It's a very, very severe issue. You've obviously got various different people breaking off from the main forces of that zone. It's happening in Revendreth, it's happening in Bastion, it's even happening in Ardenweald to an extent because of this anima drought. So there is, I think with this one, it's more a case of we can't necessarily judge the storyline of the zone until we have access to everything, which isn't going to happen until probably later in beta. To have a complete storyline to play through.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. No.
It's fairly obvious that we go through Ardenweald, every single zone we've gone through so far, maybe with the exception of Revendreth, and we don't know with Maldraxxus. So 2 out of the 4, we only explore about half the map while leveling, and the rest of the map seems to be set apart for level 60 content, which is, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a
good.
really, really good thing.
Reminds me of Storm Peaks. Like, it was sort of like you can't really get up there until you're flying and getting up there. It's sort of like upper level content.
I mixed up Storm Peaks and Stormheim in my head, and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? No. Yeah.
I mean, Stormheim does have mountains.
It does.
Storm Peaks, that makes sense. You had to be 77 to get flying.
Exactly.
I think that was really great as well, because it wasn't like, oh, I can't go there till I'm this level. It was literally like, I physically cannot get up there until I am this level.
Yeah.
Which made it like a goal. Yeah, same with Icecrown in a way. Yeah. But it made it sort of like a goal, and I kind of like that. That was pretty cool. It's like, I can't wait to get over there, the sort of thing.
You can definitely visit those. You can visit those zones, at the moment when you're low level. But realistically, all you can do is stand on a hill and kind of look at them. You have no idea what's deep in there. You can death run in if you want and do loads of death skips, but it's not exactly you're not gonna get much from it. So. Again, once we've got to a position where Maldraxxus is out and we have beta moving forward, and we can kind of turn around and say, this is exactly what we want to, this is the storyline that's playing through. Once we've got that experience, I think we're going to see a lot more connections between the zones, and definitely we'll be in a much better place than we were at this point in BFA as well. By the time you get to 60, there is, could you imagine being 60 in Alliance and then going, right, okay, now time to get ready for the raid. Where is it? Who is it? What's the story there? What are we doing?
Raiders don't care about the story, Kexman. Don't throw that in there.
Untrue. Raiders do care about the story.
No.
Not all Raiders, but Raiders.
No, LFR heroes care about the story.
LFR heroes.
Because if they didn't care about the story, why would LFR exist then?
Many reasons.
I mean, look at Farseer.
Exactly. Without if our Farseer would not have killed a single raid boss in the last 3 expansions.
That's very true. That's actually very, very true.
Can't dispute that.
You can try.
No, I said I can't dispute that.
Oh, you can't. I thought you said I'll dispute that. And I was like,
that's what I did.
really?
I was like,
this
you
is the
can't.
hill you want to die on?
I did raid with you guys in Legion. That's true. I did Emerald Nightmare.
Did
yeah,
you
that's why I
know?
said 3 expansions.
Yes. What do you mean the past 3 expansions? Legion was last expansion. I know it seems like a long time ago, but
Nah, it was 2 ago now.
God,
We're
yeah.
Shadowlands, basically.
Yeah,
Shadowlands.
It's just not. We're not even in Shadowlands yet.
No, Legion was like 6 years ago, my dude.
Yeah, big true.
Yeah,
I
but
think
it
that
still counts. But never mind.
yeah, Ardenweald as a story does feel. It does feel. It feels good. I'm not sure whether it's. I don't know. I think I said it on the stream on Thursday, where it's a case of it feels as though it's the place I would AFK in, but I wouldn't revisit directly to to go through all the quests again.
That's a shining endorsement of his own. Like, I'd really like to sit here and not be at the game.
No, as in like
want to play the quests again.
As in like I'd
10 out of 10
really,
zone.
I'd enjoy being there to just kind of like I'd have it as the scenery in the background. I wouldn't necessarily turn around and rush to do the quests again.
Kex is like, thanks for making it Blizzard Art Team, but Quest Team, you can go to sleep. I just want to sit here and just enjoy the.
Well, no, the quests are good, but when I compare them, when I think back to the Bastion quest and the quests in Revendreth, that to me feels those two felt better than Ardenweald. Not to say it's a bad
the trend with Blizzard's expansions. The most visually interesting zones are always the most dull story-wise.
I'm trying to think to go back. What would you say is the most visually? Uldum. Okay. Well, no, because I would say hang on, Uldum in Cataclysm.
Yes.
In the expansion that had Vashia,
Vashia's
you
amazing.
say
you get to fight the fucking giant squid and an attack submarine.
Yes, but it's also the most visually stunning.
Right. If you're into underwater stuff.
But but it is the most visually.
I really like
most visually
stunning. Like it really like.
It's
No,
yeah.
but
I'm hang on. Are you trying to say that Vashia, which has corals and reefs and like various different fish, and you've got this really, really nice, colourful area, is less visually appealing than a desert?
As a Stargate fan, yes.
God damn it.
You can't dispute that. The pyramids. I had high hopes when that was data mined, and then it was just a Harrison Jones quest line.
I like how he's
That's the
like,
whole
as a
zone.
Stargate fan, I would prefer Atlantis over Egypt.
Petition to mute Dunkirk. Okay. No, Suramar. Someone brings up Suramar. Suramar is. It's probably the closest and I think it's one thing they wanted to do, which was a full-on city-sized area. And I mean, they could, you really wanted to do a city-sized area, you can do much bigger.
Right?
But Suramar was quite
carry
good.
on and go with like the most visually appealing zones have the worst quests. You can take it as that, right? And it's not just one per expansion. Vashira is visually appealing, but the questing there felt like ass, didn't it? Right? Uldum's pretty visually appealing, but the questing is right? If you go to Wad, Shadowman Valley, it's pretty impressive looking, and so is like Gorgrond with the Everbloom and stuff. And then the quests are just completely forgettable. Like what happened in Gorgrond?
What happened in Gorgrond?
Yeah, what happened in Gorgrond?
Flowers, didn't they?
There was obviously the big storyline that went on with you eventually assaulting the Blackrock Foundry. You were taking out one of the massive guns there.
No, in the base expansion, like not patch.
No, that wasn't a patch. The Gorgrond came in 2 halves. The first half was dealing with the botany side of it, where you're obviously finding about the orcs that are being taken over by the infectious disease that's turning them into the botany. And then you obviously have the second half, which is you exploring through, heading towards Blackrock Foundry, where you're dealing with trying to disrupt the supplies. You're obviously stopping them from getting the Gron as their slaves, I suppose you will. And then the final part of the quest is you going into the area where Blackrock Foundry is, and there's a massive gun that you have to destroy.
Okay, I'm standing by the most visually appealing.
By the way, there is a poll in chat to mute Dunkirk. I mean, if you want to vote on that, you can if you want.
I don't know.
Can't guarantee it's going to work.
Suffered from it. Mr. Pandaria suffered from it.
I don't know whether Mr.
Red Waste was. Ugh.
But I don't think Dread Waste was the most visually appealing.
No,
I'd
say it would be the middle one.
No, Jade Forest. Starting zone. Jade Forest was beautiful as a zone. There are many zones that are like that. You know, Jade Forest was fantastic. I think if we go back to Wrath of the Lich King, I think Wrath of the Lich King, we can pretty much all agree that Grizzly Hills was the... Well, actually, no, hang on. Wrath of the Lich King, Grizzly Hills.
Ice Crown, my dude.
Ice Crown looked cool, but I wouldn't say it was the most visually appealing. I would actually say I prefer Howling Fjord. Howling Fjord, I think, to me, looked better. Well, okay, was more visually appealing. Didn't necessarily look better. Ice Crown, whilst it looked good, was just kind of like one colour.
Do you know?
Or Gundrak.
Do you know all I'm hearing here is My Perfect Sunday?
Well, yeah, basically that's how it
literally
is.
all you guys are going on about right now. Jesus.
Storm. Some people saying Storm Peaks. I completely agree, EJ. Howling Fjord over Boring Tundra every day of the week, every month of the year. I hate Boring Tundra.
No,
I always go for Borean. Always.
Mistledine raiding with a party of 20. Hello to everyone from Mistledine's channel. Mistledine. See, you guys are here now. Mistledine, you can and Parkreep subscribing. It's all kicking.
That's it. Well, it's a Warcraft radio party.
It's all kicking off.
It's now officially a Warcraft radio party.
What was our point?
So our point, I think the point...
Ardenweald, that was how this topic was.
Yeah, started with Ardenweald. Ardenweald is a very, very visually impressive zone, but in the 3 zones that we've quested in so far, I feel as though it is maybe the weakest. As much as the one thing I do like is, that there is a solid thread through it when you're following the Soul Nut. That's quite a big thread. For the people that have just joined, by the way, I've actually stated that in Ardenweald, I think they call them wild seeds. They're actually soul nuts, that is Soul Nut. That is how it is being pronounced from now on.
So much.
That's what they're being called.
Also, Mistledine also voted for you to be muted, Dunkirk. I mean, by democracy standard, we should just mute you.
I love democracy.
It's a good thing this is a fascist dictatorship, then, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
Damn it. I think
let's wrap up Ardenweald. It's been 48 minutes. And we're
going on about Ardenweald. Christ.
As is tradition.
So, you haven't done Ardenweald yet, Dunkirk.
Nope, I'll probably do it this weekend.
Probably do it this week because obviously you've been working. For me, if I was to rate Ardenweald out of 10, I'd probably give it a 6-7 out of 10. It's good. But
X-Man's 7 out of 10 rating for a zone he'd AFK and not actually redo. Wow, that's quite a generous.
Because the Soul Nut story is interesting. It looks really nice, and I haven't finished it yet. And this is the leveling sort of through the zone. We haven't, and it's not. I haven't finished it yet because of my issues. I haven't finished it yet because I'm locked out of the goddamn thing. But from the leveling experience,
issue, honestly.
It feels, I'd say 7 out of 10 for Ardenweald so far. How about yourself, Farseer? Where would you, from what you've done so far,
I don't think I
place Ardenweald?
I can't really. I haven't done enough to really give it that much of a fair judgment. So I can't. Placing any number on it would be just
put a number on it. God damn it!
No, it would be disingenuous, Dunkirk.
But it's a 4 from Farseer.
Has that ever stopped you?
I do want a 4 from Farseer. I give it a 7 because I farsighted through it months ago and it was pretty.
There we go.
I do want to point out that Creek said that you should just inhale pie again, Dunkirk, and assume all the power.
It's not good for your lungs. You think that the current pandemic is bad. Try inhaling pie. Breathing is tough.
Breathing is tough when you've got crusts in your lungs.
It's true. Shouldn't be there. But it was.
What can I? And like Rav says, what can I say? I like the Soul Nut.
Okay. Okay. Enough about your goddamn soul nuts. We don't want to hear any more about your soul nuts.
Let's blast this. Let's switch up your topic order slightly first here because we've spent an hour on Shadowlands.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I'm happy with that. Okay, go on, Dunker. You go ahead, shoot.
Anchorage.
Anchorage. This is where me and Dunkirk finally can talk about something, something that's going to be interesting.
Wait,
that wasn't even mentioned. Kexman's playing Classic again.
Yes.
He saw the light. He went back to the correct game, and he's playing Classic again. And he's level 48, 49?
49 currely. I managed. I logged in. I think it was Wednesday night, and I was 3 pips away from 48, and I was like, right, I'm not logging off until I hit 49, and it was going really quickly. And I believe you logged on at you were on Discord at 2 a.m. and I was saying it went really quickly, and then it slowed the hell down in Feralus because of the drop rate of some of the quests. I wanted to shoot myself, and I then kind of turned around and was like, "Oh, here we go. It's it's starting to pick up again." And then, but I was like 1 pip away from 49, and I just hit a wall. And no matter what I did, I couldn't find a quest that would get me over it. So in the end, I had to take a quest that took me from Tanaris to Hinterlands, and then back from the Hinterlands to Tanaris.
This is the part where you relearn that to play Classic, there will be points, like 49 to 50, for example, where your best bet is just to find a quiet corner of the world and kill
grind
shit for 3 hours. And then you'll be
exactly.
done.
And that's what I'm 49
you also get
now.
some good drops. You get some good drops. So
I'm 49, and I now have access to a lot of the quests that are in Searing Gorge. So that's going to be quite nice to go into Searing Gorge.
All 4 of them.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of quests that have also opened up in... I still haven't done the Hinterlands Elite quests yet, which are going to give stonk XP.
I didn't do them either.
They're going to give stonk XP, which would be quite nice. So... I'm looking. I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to lie. I'm currently enjoying it. I've managed to get. I think we were in Seath. Took me through Zul'Farrak, and I was able to get the shoulder, the plate shoulders from the last boss.
Bad pauldrons.
And Seath turned around and was like, "Now you look like a Horde warrior." And I didn't realize. I only just noticed they're slightly asymmetrical.
Yeah.
One of them is slightly bigger than the other.
Especially on the Torn model, it's more noticeable.
Yeah, that's very true.
On the Undead, you barely notice because they're shrunk down and shriveled backwards. But
oh no, I forgot about that. The Alliance get to MC through Searing Gorge, and we're on a PvP server.
Do not talk to me about shrunk down and shriveled shoulders since Burning Crusade. Since the orcs in Burning Crusade.
What's that orc
that
boy?
bug in Burning Crusade it was there for 3 patches worth. It just lasted for so long.
It could be worse. You could have been human and female shoulders.
That's true.
Bigger than your character model.
That's true.
I'd rather it bigger than smaller.
So on the topic, Anchorage is coming.
Yes,
the gates are going to reopen.
So
about 8 days after the patch hits, the gates will be open on every server that cares.
Well,
because that's maths.
That is depending, and it's something that we obviously wanted to talk about. So we know that there has been a new PTR apparently, or there's a PTR build for Classic. Not a lot has changed, but there's a big theory that it's going to be the AQ. They're going to test a couple of things for the AQ patch, and the Anchorage War effort and the Anchorage patch is going to be very, very exciting. There's a lot of world events that go on. Silithus is actually finally going to be useful again, or I say again for the first time again. Well, kind of. And we're going to get some new raids. We've obviously got AQ20, AQ40, and Cthulhu. Whether or not we get Cthulhu in his unbroken form, just to test the will of all the guilds, because you look at what...
See, if they did that, I think it would be dead in a day.
Really?
Yeah, even the broken version of Cthulhu, I think they'll be able to kill it in a day.
Well, because you look at how much better we are now compared to when Vanilla came out across the board.
It's just simple stuff. It was mathematically, it was impossible, right?
Where have we heard that before?
It was the original mathematically impossible thing, but it's because people at the time based their maths on the way that people were playing the game then.
Also,
back then you didn't have dual wield Fury Warriors as your main tanks, whereas now you do, and they do so much damage.
That is very true. but I do want to hold Kexman's statement saying we're much better than we were back then. I'd like to point out, although Blackwing Lair took 45 minutes to do, wasn't it just a couple of days ago or last week that S-Fan got some people together? It took them 6 hours and they couldn't get past the third boss.
Yeah, that's because pugs are bad at video games.
Yeah, pugs as a general rule, realistically, and I think the other thing as well, you've got to know anytime you do a pug in, it's bad enough trying to herd 40 people. Anytime you try and do a pug, it's just going to be infinitely worse. And whilst
there's herding 40 people that you know and work with every week.
Yeah.
And then there's, hey, I got 39 randoms here who have never communicated with each other in any way, shape, or form.
And also, whilst Esfand is the paladin god, and he knows a fair bit about paladins in Classic, it's you can only do so much when you've got 39 other people, 20 of who are probably AFK. 5 of who are probably there to grief because it's a famous streamer and they think that's funny. So, if you look across the board at the skill level of players now versus back then, it's absolutely no contest. Add-ons as well.
That, looking at then versus now, obviously to open Anchorage, if you are unaware, the entire server has to come together and donate resources on both the Horde and the Alliance. So that might be a stumbling block for some servers. In order for the gates to open. You also have to complete the quest line with at least one person on the server completing the quest line. Quest line rewards the legendary mount, which is the black Karaji battle tank. Great. But the quest line, if you currently do not already have a plan to get that quest line done with your guild and you're the nominated person getting that bug, you ain't getting it. Yeah. So that's rip for those people, unless there are some super dead servers where it doesn't get open for years like originally.
Do you think, Dunkirk?
We know the numbers for the turn-ins because we did them 16 years ago.
They've always been there. We know the numbers and we know exactly what items there are going to be.
So the problem with that is that all the big guilds have stockpiled exactly the numbers they need to just turn it all in and be like, job done! Including on some of the very, very Horde-dominated servers, they have enough on their Horde faction to donate to the Alliance to turn it in for the Alliance side as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that
was going to be my question.
This is where sensible changes come into play. Now, if Blizzard want to create the same feeling that was back in the day with Classic, what they need to do is they need to alter what is included in the war effort. Whether it is quantities, whether it is actual items that that are being handed in, something along those lines. There needs to be something. I don't know. I suppose the question is, does there need to be a change there? Do you feel as though there needs to be a change there?
I feel like it will be beneficial to the experience. Like, Classic is all about reliving the experience. And if they don't change either the turn-in amounts or, like, put caps on it or, change the items in general, it'll be over so fast that so many people will miss it again. And that the point of Classic is to let people see the stuff that they missed. If it's going to take 8 days and then, job's done, that's it, more effort done again forever, that's it, you'll never see it again, that's going to be kind of sucky. Because, especially if it's dropping in the middle of, like, the current quarantine time when there's people trapped all over the place who are maybe not able to play the game, then that's not great. So my solution is they take the amount of resources currently available on the server, multiply that number by 20, and then make that the turn-in requirement. If your server has stockpiled like mad to get this done instantly, you just shot yourself in the foot. You're going to need to do that again.
Said times. If they changed it, people who have stockpiled will be pissed. Yeah, but guess what? No one did back in the day because no one knew that this was going to be a thing. So just because you've taken advantage of knowing what's going to happen in the future doesn't mean that it's like, haha, look, I've cheated the system. Oh, wait, I didn't cheat the system. I'm pissed off now. Tough.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that would need to be announced ahead of time. Like if it was coming in, say for example, 4 weeks from today, which is really odd for a patch to open on a Saturday, but 4 weeks from today, the patch is released. The war effort is available. I'd say they would need to announce today that there are going to be changes. They wouldn't say what, but they would say there will be changes for the AQ war effort to give it that more. because I suppose at the end of the day, the classic feel of the AQ war effort isn't the items you hand in. It's the feel of creating the items. It's the events that are happening across the world.
Participating in killing
Yeah.
the world bosses that only spawn during the event, or someone else to get the reward. You're there to participate in the actual kill, not because you're going to get the reward.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
the satyr in not Darkshore, the other one, Darkshire, not Darkshire.
Yeah.
Duskwood, that's the name of the zone.
Begin with D.
The satyr and
Yeah.
like the monster off the coast, like the shark thing. Like there's so many things that need to happen for the quest line that require more than just one person, right?
Yeah.
But only that one person's going to get the reward from that quest line.
Yeah, exactly. I would be okay if they didn't change. I think the quest line for the Scarab Lord stuff should stay the same. That shouldn't change, because that's enough as it is. And like Dunkirk said, if you're planning for it, you should have started planning ages ago.
Yeah.
The actual war effort should feel more of a and people always talk about WoW Classic is the
It should
community
feel like
is so
an
much
effort.
better. Yeah. They always say the community is so much better. They always say the WoW community is always so much better, and I would kind of completely agree with that. I think the other day I was leveling in Tanaris, and it was on the eastern coast where the Bloodsail
Pirates.
Buccaneers have set up.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was the only one there. And as a warrior, if you're leveling in Classic, you know that you hate yourself when you do that because it's painful. And there was a night elf rogue that was there, or it was a human rogue. I can't remember. And we
They were
spent
that good at
probably
being a rogue.
We spent 45 minutes. We spent 45 minutes killing the mobs together. We would take turns in killing the mobs. We could have killed each other, but it would have been completely pointless and fruitless, especially when you're leveling in Classic, because that's just it takes long enough as it is. And
The counters to that is, if you had killed him, he would have called for backup as 60s, which would have came to kill you. But then you call for backup, and then 60s come for, and then PvP happens.
that's true. I'm more concerned about getting to 60 myself than PvP at this point in time. And you know, the community does it. There is 100% a definite difference between the communities in retail and Classic, and the whole point of the AQ war effort is community. The moment you make it so it's over in 8 days, that completely defeats the purpose of the AQ war effort.
Yeah,
you
when-
might as
when
well just
there's-
open the gates.
Like back in the day, there was agreements between top guilds on servers to not open the gate until as many people as they had all agreed on had got the quest line complete to get them out.
Yeah.
Like there was servers where they waited months to open it so that everyone that was willing to do it could get there and get their stuff done.
Yeah.
But there are the other servers and the other guys, like the rogue that opened the gate sneakily at 2 a.m. without anyone around for no one to notice. And
It happens.
yeah, but that's part of the community event as well.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
you have it as like, if you have it on like, oh, the server, 8 days that gate will be open. Everyone knows 8 days that gate will be open. That's kind of
Also,
Just don't
on
feel
top
right.
of that, I suppose the other side of it as well is when the gates originally opened back in Classic WoW, every single server, without question, died a
Exploded.
death. And nowadays, I imagine they've probably got much better server tech than they did back in Classic days. People have much better computers back. than they did in
do you know what? I don't
Hmm.
necessarily agree that they have better server tech than back then, based on the fact that the
They can't
game
run retail
engine-
WoW rather well currently.
No, not just that, but like in WoW in general now, if you have a gathering of more than like 20 players in a place, it slows down to hell. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like in BFA, it slows down to hell if there's like 20 people there.
In some places, it
And it
can
gets
do,
worse
yeah.
and worse, right? Like out in the world, I mean. So if there's like 20 of both factions, it's horrible. But if you look back at like Classic, you had literally the entire server's population in Silithus. And yeah, the servers were crashing, but the gates still opened and stuff still happened.
Okay.
So it's just there's so many calculations happening in the current WoW engine that it just is not capable. Because think about corruption procs and Azerite trait proc, all that stuff's being calculated
Yeah.
every time someone uses an ability on the server. So that slows it down to hell. Think at Classic though, yeah, there's maybe like 10 or 20 procs total.
Yeah, actually,
Like-
that's about right.
So it's less to calculate.
Yeah.
But So I think the server tech has got worse as far as handling massive gatherings. So that'll be interesting on that side for AQ.
Yeah, I think AQ4. I think with the AQ war effort, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it is handled outside of the war effort and how it was, in regards to the opening and everything alongside of that. I don't know whether they could turn around and do something along the lines of. They could do something along the lines of the AQ war effort is there, and then I don't know, time it some way. But there's something that I definitely do want it to change from what it was, because like we've said, that was the experience, not just the raids. It was everything beforehand. It was getting the stuff traded in. It was all that sort of stuff. That is the key. That is the key point of the AQ war effort. And
that's a key point of Classic WoW.
Well, yeah, and I know some people might be pissed because they're like, "Oh, well, I stockpiled this." It's like, okay, but that's not how Classic was. So, so realistically, if you stockpiled something, that isn't Classic. That isn't Classic at all. And I know people can say, "Oh, well, they cleared this raid in 8 days." That was never done on Classic. It's like, yeah, or 8 hours or however bloody long it was.
45 minutes.
45 minutes. That was
yeah.
47 minutes.
Yep.
That then it's like, okay, they cleared it, but the rest of the guilds aren't. There are some guilds still working on, Blackwing Lair. There are some people that haven't even made raiding, like myself. So
make a decision then, like for this is like for the class community. If you've already seen it as, raids being cleared in 45 minutes, this being done, things being stockpiled, gates open 8 days, do you want to concede that this isn't Classic and you don't want the Classic experience anymore? Because you can. If you just want to concede that's the case, then yeah, sure, do that. Because then you're not doing Classic. You're just basically doing WoW.
They're just farming purples. They're just farming.
Yeah,
purples.
you're just farming purples. You're not
Classic.
Yeah, that's not Classic. So people gave you Classic because you guys wanted the authentic experience. You wanted no changes, but yet you're fighting against that, which is weird.
Well, just to think, right? Like after Anchorage is Nax.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
realistically, we can imagine to see Nax by say when? November, September.
We'll see, I suppose.
I'm trying to think because
September, October, probably.
Yeah, I'd imagine for Nax, and then obviously.
But that means that Classic only ran for a year and a bit, which Vanilla was 2 years, wasn't it?
Vanilla was 2 years, but if you have, so let's say you have Nax launch then, and everything that goes on with Nax, and then you have an announcement at
patch
the
1.
early
13, or patch 1.12, sorry.
Or you have an announcement at the 2021, the early virtual BlizzCon that they're planning. And I'm going to say it quietly so Seath doesn't hear me. TBC Classic. That could possibly be
so quiet.
And as Duchess Sophie says, wouldn't an October release for Nax have conflicts with Shadowlands?
No, because Shadowlands is coming out in December.
I'd say Shadowlands is November, December.
The first week of December will be same as Cataclysm. First week of December.
That'll be a nice. I'd say for myself, Christmas or this holiday. That'll be a nice holiday though with Shadowlands.
If Nax is out in October, and also remember that Shadowlands and Classic will have entirely different player bases.
Yes, true.
Especially by the time Nax is out, it's an entirely different. Like the people still playing Classic will be the people who are there just for Classic Nax. They don't care about Shadowlands. They will never care about Shadowlands.
And not only that, but realistically, if you have, I suppose Classic it would make a nice change once you've got. So you would imagine that most people would get to level capped, would get to 60 in Shadowlands in probably about a week and a half for most people. If you're looking
at 2 or 3 days.
Well, it depends on if people are working or not. The people that take time off, different story. But people that are working, I could see, and they've got commitment.
Even working full time for the launch of the last 2 expansions, like I was level capped in like 3 days total.
Yeah.
Like Legion, I was working particularly more at the launch of Legion, but still level capped pretty quickly on 2 characters.
Smurflord just says vanilla had a much longer life cycle as people didn't know what they were doing. They had to learn and explore the world. Classic can never replicate that, which is true for some, but like there are people that didn't play it.
Totally could have replicated that with some Classic Plus content, but since we're apparently going down the Burning Crusader bust route without really considering Classic Plus,
without putting out a vote to the community like RuneScape does. I know you're thinking it.
They sent out their census about Burning Crusade Classic. Like, if it was done, would you want us to do it this way, this way, this way, or this way? Yeah. Where was the option for? I don't want Burning Crusade Classic. I would rather something else.
Something
no
new.
Option for it. So
did they not put Classic Plus on that option?
No. It was just, how do you want us to do? Like, do you want us to have ability to copy over your current characters? Do you want to make new characters? Do you want to like have a server where you start at level 58?
Yeah,
like that was the options they gave, which none of, like, if you wanted Classic Plus, it was a disappointment because it clearly shows that Blizzard are set on Burning Crusade Classic as like the way to go. There was no consideration for anything else in there, which makes sense because the work's all done and the team's pretty small, but at the same time,
give us something new.
If you think Classic's been speedrun through,
wait till TBC.
It's pretty thin on the ground as far as content cycle. Like, so you've got your first patch comes out, and that's basically all your raids for the whole expansion, apart from Hyjal, Sunwell, and Black Temple.
Yep.
So, and Zulaman. I forget it exists because of when it released. It made no sense.
Zulaman was its own separate patch.
Yeah, but it filled in like an itemization gap that didn't actually exist.
Yeah, it was weird. It was definitely weird.
I just want to let me know, guys, when we are finished with the AQ subject, because I do have a question that was posed in chat.
Yes, we did see. I think we could probably wrap it up now, but the main takeaway from this is the AQ War effort is a community-based event. For them to have a community-based event like it again, and the one thing that they wanted to, I think the big thing they said they wanted to do in Classic was to replicate the community feeling. They're never going to be able to replicate people's first thoughts of going through Classic. That's never going to happen. But for them to fully get that community feeling of all chipping into the war effort, there has to be some changes. Because like Dunkirk said, if you log in and it's over in 8 days, you've lost out.
Rip. It's really weird that with Classic, the illegal private servers handled the life cycle of its patches a lot better than Blizzard seemed to be doing. Because like the more popular of them that are now shut down, obviously, had itemization progressed with the patches. Right?
So everything stays.
Well, more than that, in the very first patch, the legendary neck dropped for one person before they changed it. The same as it originally happened. Like, they replicated right down to that detail. And then funky itemization on things that made no sense. Or even the original Tier 1 models.
Okay.
Remember, Tier 1 used to look
laughably
bad. Yeah. Before the rework. So, I mean, it doesn't look much better. But, you know, there was a difference. Whereas Blizzard have just went straight for, yep, no, it's patch 1.12. Here's a raid. Okay. Yeah. 2 months later, here's a raid. Okay, 2 months later. Okay, here's a raid.
Do you think the reason why they went for 1.12 was because it was the most quote-unquote recognizable patch of Classic WoW for a lot of people?
No, I think it's because it's genuinely the only version of Classic they still had access to.
That's also possible, I suppose.
Because a lot of the stuff on the private servers was like based on memory or old like archive web pages from back then of like databases and stuff. That's how they got all that stuff. We're watching YouTube videos and reading the numbers on the screen. That's how they got a lot of the things for those servers to work. Blizzard had 1.12. It's like, this is how quite like a snapshot of exactly how it was on the day, which is better to work with, but it misses out all the stuff of how did it get to that state.
True. No, I think making sure that AQ is still a community event is probably going to be key. Whether or not they do it, I don't know, but we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Speaking of waiting and seeing, there was a question in the Twitch chat that I did see.
It was.
I can't quite remember who posted it.
It was from Smurflord.
Smurflord.
So they asked. Do you think the stream that was planning for Tuesday the 9th would have been a Shadowlands release date announcement?
I would say,
Is this the time for it? Do you think this is around about the time that they should release a release date?
yeah, I think if
But
they are feeling,
with no BlizzCon having been announced, and like, obviously a few more months of uncertainty going forward, some certainty of like on this date you'll be able to play Shadowlands would be nice for people.
I think this would be a good time.
well, they've also said that because of the incredible work that some of the engineers have done at Blizzard with the servers and people working from home, how they've done it, I do not know. But they've basically said that there hasn't really been any drop off for their timeline in Shadowlands and how they're creating stuff, which is incredible when you consider they, so I would say that they're probably pretty. They probably know exactly where they need to go for Shadowlands, and
I would like a release date. I
would imagine we would have got. I think we would have got a release date, and I have a sneaking suspicion we'd have got another cutscene.
You have a lot of suspicions all the time, like with your suspicion. You're a very suspicious person. Why couldn't you be more trusting, Kexman?
Because I know what life is like, Farseer.
Like Murford raises a point now that is actually on my mind as well. I think this whole working from home has increased productivity in a lot of office jobs because you're more productive when you don't have to spend an hour sitting on a bus or train or whatever to get to your work, and then you get in and you're tired and exhausted before you've done anything. So that's better for that. But I'm wondering if after all this, Blizzard will look at this and go, why do we need them all to keep coming into the office?
With Blizzard,
Maybe look at it as a case of like, we can hire people anywhere in the world now without having to relocate them and have them pay the like extortionate amounts to live and get the best people possible for the job working on it.
I would agree, but I say it only takes one person to break an NDA or do something from home, and then they just lock that back down again. Is what I think.
Yeah, and
it's the same with the office though.
But it's there's two reasons I think it's slightly an office job. Yes, I think it's slightly different for a games company to a degree. I would say that there are certain aspects of that job that you could do from home. The majority,
you can apparently do all of it.
99% of the people that work at Blizzard, especially at Blizzard HQ, at Blizzard Campus, probably live within about a half an hour drive of the campus. I would imagine.
No, that's not right either.
Oh, really?
They're way further. It's really expensive. There's a whole thing in the industry where game devs are underpaid for the skill sets they have compared to like normal software developers. The cost of living in Irvine, California is extortionately high.
Yeah.
So they live a lot further away. So their commutes are more like 2 hours ish.
Yeah.
So that's
that's a lot.
I would say that in a design environment, it sometimes is better to work in a group in an actual physical office, because you can design stuff, you can bounce ideas off people, and it's a lot quicker than, I know we've got stuff like Zoom and stuff like that, but sometimes it's better to do that face to face.
I know, but as we're finding, like, for necessity, things like Zoom, for example, or even Discord or Google Teams and all these things like Hangouts and stuff, all these things have adapted to what's going on and are like rapid fire developing stuff that makes this stuff easier to do from home than it ever would be in an office. Like one button, you can share your entire screen. It's like, here's what I'm working on, boom. I was talking to Zoom calls, like something about this, something about that.
Positive side about all this is that a lot more interest and money will be put into things like Discord and whatever now, just due to the situation. They're like, and people have gone, actually, these online things we've never heard of before are actually really handy. It's like, go figure.
I would
think
definitely
about 2 months
be interested.
ago. Think about 2 months ago, how many people had ever heard of Zoom?
Exactly.
It's like widely being used by so many different companies and fields and schools and universities, like everyone.
But publicity is insane,
I don't know. I feel as though there is still room for people to work in an office for something like game development. I do also understand that, we are seeing a lot more productivity from people working from home. So, I don't know.
It could suffer diminishing returns. It could be a case of, like, after a few months of working from home, you're like, I need some way to separate this. But
Yeah.
that's where a home office should become more of a standard thing. So your
Yeah.
workspace is just your home office.
I get that, because
You've got
sometimes
room.
you just want to get out of the house, right? If you're
Yeah.
living and working and living and working and living, you get stir crazy. You go nuts if that's what you're doing. So I sort of do get it in a way, but there are positives, there are benefits, and there are negatives to it, right? So, you know.
Smurf Lord saying, when I went to
Oh,
BlizzCon
God.
2017, we rented a car. The traffic was a nightmare,
Oh.
more than anything in the UK.
Don't even. Eric picked us up in his Fiat 500 from
Yeah.
LAX, and it was like being in a cardboard box surrounded by tanks.
It was fantastic. It was the weirdest experience, because we were like, so we got to the airport and we'd arranged for Eric to pick us up for BlizzCon 2019. We landed, we were stood outside, and we were both stood there, and then all of a sudden both of us went, we don't know what he drives. Like, so we didn't have a clue if any of the cars were Eric's. So we messaged him, and then he was like, don't worry, you'll see it. And then round the corner came this bright orange, and I mean orange Fiat 500.
And you
With
like
like-
that, Eric.
With the license plate, the Eric.
Yeah.
Like, oh, must be Eric.
It was one of those moments where we saw the car
Could
pull
not
up, and we just,
mistake it.
of course, this is Eric's car. But then it got worse, because Fiat 500s are not small cars. And not big cars, sorry. They're-
What?
Definitely
They are-
are small cars.
they are very small cars. Me and Dunkirk are not small people. So we had to get our luggage,
Oh my
plus
All the BlizzCon
All of-
gear.
all the BlizzCon gear, including recording, shirts, everything, into this Fiat 500, and then drive about an hour and a half to our hotel. And it was at like 6 o'clock in the
7
evening.
o'clock-ish, yeah.
6, 7 o'clock-ish in the evening,
Yep.
hitting the LA traffic on the freeway. And my
After
lord,
16 hours of travel.
oh my lord, that was an
I'm
experience and a half. That
I'm
was.
so glad I didn't go, because they wouldn't. That wouldn't have worked.
That
The
said-
math would not
Yeah,
have added
no.
up.
Well, we'll see if you had went first year. I was looking at it before for next year.
Yeah,
Well, it was maybe for this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Like renting a car, and then that's
Yeah.
like renting like a minivan type thing. Be a lot easier.
be a lot easier. But no, it was
Yeah.
good fun, and I think, LA traffic is pretty insane. So for the people that are working at home, it probably is
Oh,
a
it must
lot
be a
more.
dream right now, though.
Yeah, because
Oh.
you're not dealing with it. But then, like you said,
Oh,
there comes a point when you're working from home, you're kind of sat there going, I am in the exact same place working that I'm supposed to be living in
but
day
again, that's
in
where
and day out.
that's just where like being able to separate off like a room that is specifically for your work.
Yeah,
That's
though,
enough.
Even then, though.
Now that would be enough. Like if there's a place where you like when I'm working, I'm in that room. Like you decorate it different enough, and it will feel like you're going to a separate office. It just cuts out ridiculous commute times, and then
yeah.
I
early
just-
morning stand up pointless.
no, I
meetings where
agree.
Everyone talks about nothing for an hour.
Oh, I certainly agree. No, I do. I just think that there are obviously benefits and negatives to it. You just got to weigh them out. But no, there is definitely, it's something to take a look at going forward into the future, especially with, with the current pandemic and how we've got to adapt and live with it. We've got to change. So yeah, it's definitely something to look at.
True.
It's very true.
I
I think-
wraps up BlizzCon release dates. Ardenweald, AQ Classic.
Yep. And
Pardon
now
me
you got there in the
said-
end. But no, I will say, just kind of in regards to the event that was on the 9th, I think we'd have got a release date, a cinematic, maybe a new cinematic, but we'd have probably also got, I don't know whether, would it be too early to hint at future patches or the first patch coming out? Would that be too early?
Nah, too early.
But I
wouldn't
could see
agree with
them. I could see like you're saying with cinematic. I could see like you remember we had Warbringers and
Warbringers
Lords of
and
War,
yeah,
like those type. We could, well, not could. We are getting something like that for Shadowlands. They've said that is something that they like when it makes
yeah,
sense.
they want to
for the story.
continue.
that. Yeah.
So we have something coming to hype up Shadowlands, and that
True.
could have maybe being shown off for the first time.
Well, the thing
Possibly.
is,
Have they said when they're rescheduling it to? Just that it's
They
been
haven't.
pushed
No,
back?
they've
They've
just
said
delayed
it's
it
been
now.
pushed back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So who knows? Could that mean the release date's been pushed back?
You know one
I
thing,
don't think
though?
so.
No, I don't think so. But did you know one thing? You know when we spoken about BFA, we're like, oh yeah, you know, with BFA for the most part, one of the things that stands out the most is the cinematics, and like the cinematic team always carrying the expansions and stuff. We have had nothing yet for Shadowlands, and we're already really liking where it's going.
We've had the intro.
Yeah, but then imagine like, you know, the cinematics and everything they got planned on
Point
top
of order,
it.
Mr. Speaker. We've had the upside down gargoyle carriage flight.
Well, those are,
that was
yes.
not really a cinematic. That was just a in-game.
That's a cutscene.
Yeah.
We
We
don't get
do
that
know-
many cinematics with an expansion launch.
We had
do know.
quite a few in BFA. We had quite a few.
Did we?
We had the intro. We had Old Soldier. We had Anduin and Solfang in the
No.
prisons.
For the launch.
For the, okay, I wasn't talking about just the launch. I was talking about the game once it's released.
Yeah.
Oh, because we okay. Well, I thought the topic was like talking about.
But
we
if
got
you
to the
just want
launch.
it for the launch, then we had at least two. Then we had the intro and we had Old Soldier. That was more than we've had for a while.
Yeah, I think we do know that in the latest patch or the one before this recent one, that there was a line for a cinematic, and I believe it's an in-game cinematic that takes
Which I still
place
love.
when
I've got to make note of.
Bolvar visits Oribos. That's apparently a cinematic, so that will be interesting to see. We know that there are a couple of in-game cinematics that are not working. We know that there's at least 2 in Bastion. We know that there is 1 in Revendreth. We know that I believe there's 1 in Ardenweald as well. So
You believe you know.
yeah.
Believe or you know. Which one?
Well, no, I know.
He
I'm trying to-
believes that it might be a fact.
I believe that there's 2. There could be more. I remember there being 2.
Okay.
That's what I meant. So yeah, there's definitely a case for cinematics to be announced, to be released. So we're just gonna have to wait and see for when it gets re-announced. And I think it was probably the right move to push it back. But we'll see when it gets rescheduled. But I don't think it's going to affect any release dates of the games.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Apart from Diablo Immortal, pushed back another month.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey.
I think
You
it's
didn't
being
know
released,
the release date, but it's been pushed back.
been released in 2347.
All right. Okay, we've pushed it on long enough. Let's do.
Have we?
Let's get onto the subject. Everyone's really here for the Torghast discussion, right? Come on then.
I don't think anyone's here for that discussion.
Oh, God.
So, for those of you that don't know, there's been a lot of changes to Torghast. Blizzard have, and it's a very, very good thing that Blizzard have, as we've mentioned before, introduced Torghast early in the alpha development cycle.
Oh yeah.
Because stuff like this happens. They listen to feedback. They change things. The most recent iteration before the patch that we saw, there was things called torments that would follow you on every single floor. Some of these would cause your health to decrease over a certain amount of time. They would cause you to do less damage, and it just didn't feel very good. It wasn't very nice. So they've removed torments, and they have also removed the timer that was in there. We haven't had any particular concrete details. They haven't come out and said, this is the current iteration of Torghast, this is exactly how it works, how do you feel it should move from there? And you know, we're kind of going on what we see actually in the alpha versus what we see in streams, interviews, stuff like that, and information we get. We know that timers have been removed, and we know that we are now in a position where there's two different areas. There's the twisting corridors, and then you have the upper halls. So the 2 separate areas. From what I've gathered, the twisting corridor is where you go for all of your transmogs, mounts, titles, anything that's attached to that. The upper halls, I believe, is tied to your power, so your legendary dust, stuff like that. We still don't know if they're going to be using keys or any kind of system. The changes, I think, are good, them removing the timer. We did obviously have the discussion about the timer, and it was one that went on for quite a long time. I am of the thought process that if they do decide to place a pseudo timer in there, you obviously should be rewarded for that, and you should, whether or not it's extra mounts, extra transmog, extra power, something along those lines. I believe Farseer is of a different opinion, and it's quite an interesting take, actually.
So they've already changed it from when we were discussing this the other day. They've already changed it from then, right? They added another patch and changed it again, I believe. So this was a discussion to the previous build of Torghast. So it was when they added timers, and me and Kex basically said, we basically treated it like a mythic because it was the easiest way to just kind of like make it relevant. So we were saying that if you could do Torghast, and then you could get a chest at the end. If you did Torghast within a certain time, you could get 3 chests at the end, just for rounding sakes, just make it easy. So Kexman's view was that yes, you should be rewarded for getting. This was only a singular mode as well, so you should be rewarded for getting for doing better, for speeding through Torghast, for just doing it quicker than others, and you get 3 chests. And I believe Kexman's view on it was you are getting rewarded for doing more, not punished for doing less. I saw it as you. So I saw it as instead of getting a bonus 2 chests for doing better, the 3 chests as a standard were then the standard. That was then the normal. And then if you couldn't reach that normal, if you couldn't do Torghast in 20 minutes, then it felt like as though you weren't, like you were doing less than average. So your progress was slowed, so you wouldn't be able to progress as fast as someone who was doing it within the timer. Now, my argument was... was that this is so my main argument is that you can't. I didn't think that was fair. I thought that if people want to have a challenge, that's absolutely fair. If people want to go against a timer and do this sort of thing, I was like, that's absolutely fine. My suggestion at the time, before changes came in, was have a separate mode. So have normal Torghast, then have timed Torghast, so you can challenge yourself. And there was discussion back and forth, but we came to a good consensus in the end that if you had a timed version of Torghast, so you could race against it and beat it, when you got to the end, you would get your 3 chests, and you could also then get a...
Turn into the mayor.
I know, the mayor. You could also then get like an extra reward. We was thinking... like
titles,
transmog gear, mounts, some extra bonus stuff. But then also have the normal mode where you can go through it at whatever pace you want. You'll get 3 chests, but you won't get access to the bonus stuff, like non-power progressing stuff. So you still progress at the same rate in terms of like leveling your character or progressing your character, except the timed people who wanted a bit more of a challenge, who challenge themselves, then get rewarded for doing that. So we had a bit of a back and forth about that. We had some disagreements. It was a discussion that went on for at least an hour, I believe.
Yep.
And then Blizzard came in with the new build, which did you just go into the new build, Kexman, or did you just brush it?
Yes, I went into Torghast. There is no timers there. You still have small versions of torments, but it's more a case of if you're not in combat for a certain period of time, you will have certain creatures that will spawn that have ever-increasing health per level that put you in combat. So it's a way to stop you from blowing all your cooldowns and then sitting there for 10 minutes waiting for the next one. It's not quite going to happen that way. We don't yet have an endless mode. I
hope they put that in.
Yeah, hopefully that will be put in. And again, we kind of got to wait and see exactly how that's going to work. But the way Torghast feels at the moment definitely feels much better than it did before. And it does seem as though we're kind of getting closer to that really good middle ground, because the Blizzard could have risked going one way and completely ruining it by adding timers and keys and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Whereas they could have also gone the other way where there is no reason to do it. I believe we are currently in a position where there's going to be we don't know for sure. They've mentioned keys. I don't know whether that's going to be a thing, but it does feel as though we're in a position where they might be shying away from that because of what the community's saying. I think the overarching thing is the
People
community
do
doesn't
not want timers. No.
and they don't want keys. They kind of want to be able to access this however they want. The difficult thing then becomes, how do Blizzard balance that with rewards? Does it then create a weekly lockout? Do they then create something along those lines? Is it, maybe even would you actually like to see, I think one way they could do it is you don't get your rewards directly at the, unless it's stuff like transmogs and stuff and maybe little bits of loot, but your main reward doesn't actually come until the end of the week. Similar to your mythic chests, you can run it as much as you want, and then your highest level is taken to be your chest.
Maybe on that one. Like in terms of like breaking it down of how to access Torghast, though, maybe treat it like the Mage Tower. Because as far as I was aware, a lot of people didn't really have too much of an issue with how the Mage Tower worked in terms of how you gained access to it.
It was available for a couple of days every so often as you cycled through your various different things.
I think there was a lot of people upset about the accessibility of the Mage Tower.
In regards to... in what way? Too accessible?
Physically being able to actually press the button to enter it, not being up all the time. Because it meant people missed out on it just purely because of like work schedules or whatever.
It was never up at the same time.
That was something... it was on a cycle.
Yeah.
Was it up at the exact same time every week?
No,
it was like every 3 days it changed. Right?
Every 3 days it changed around, and you had to put some stuff in there. Now, at the end of Legion, in the last couple, like when we were right at the end of Legion, it was available all the time.
Yeah.
But for the longest
time... That was partly because of all the feedback of people being like,
I've got
removing this, and it keeps going off. How am I supposed to get it?
I've got it. So one of the good things about like
spoilers, he doesn't got it.
I got it. I got this, fam.
You don't have any Mage Tower appearances.
So no matter what, as much as we hate them, we all end up doing dailies or world quests. Like in some form or another, we end up doing them just for that extra piece of gear, for rep, for this, that, and the other. Now, that's probably going to happen again in Shadowlands. We're probably going to have world quests, more than likely. So we're going to do them, but then you sort of then add an extra incentive onto that because you're going to do it anyway. So why not make it so that you do so many world quests, and then like each world quest adds up into this sort of, pile or something or other, and then once you've done that many, you can then go into Torghast. Because you're going to do world quests anyway, so might as well just link it to that. So
I think the problem you've then got is you are then forced... What if I don't want to do world quests?
I mean, that is a good thing, but like a good question. But I mean,
that's the key.
Oh, wait. Okay, then make it multiple things then. So make it so that you can imagine you've got to do something to protect yourself. Oh no, I'm making up crap right now. Make it your anima protection so you can reach Torghast, right? So you can do it by doing world quests. You can do some by doing dungeons. You can get some by doing maybe even battlegrounds. Maybe let people choose.
That's the key.
It's not a physical key.
No, that's the problem. There has to be something to... Torghast has to be, in my mind, to be successful, has to be free. The loot necessarily doesn't have to be. Whether they do it on a weekly lockout, whether they do it as a, you get it via what's your highest thing. Dunkirk's having a thought, or he's confused by something.
Whatever you've done to my camera for your thing, I've just noticed is like fat. Hold on, it's probably not going to do it now that I've said it, but it keeps putting me in black and white.
I've not changed.
I haven't seen that.
No, I've not changed any options over the weeks at all of your camera. So whatever it is, that's on your end.
But yeah, I think anytime you introduce something where it's like, oh, you have to do this to get into Torghast, that's a key. Torghast needs to be free. Torghast needs to be open to kind of like everyone.
I'm up for it being open.
How they do the loot is the difficult thing. The accessibility to Torghast is not the issue. Accessibility to Torghast is fine because
if they want to keep it open all the time, I'm all for that.
The issue then becomes the loot. So do you do it in a chest system where the chest at the end of the week or the start of the week, as it were, takes your highest level and gives you rewards next to that? Or do you? What did you just do?
Don't worry about it.
I'm ignoring it.
Don't worry about it. That's fine. You can see
doing?
what I'm talking about now. Though. Like sometimes I'm like grey, and then other times it like brightens me up and puts blood in my face.
You know, I don't think they should do a chess system because basically you've already got mythics that are already doing the chess system. So you don't want to be doing your mythic pluses and then here's a chest I've got to wait for and Torghast and I've got to wait for this chest. You don't want to be sat there piling chests up and waiting for them. Like you've already got that with mythics, which is fine. That's fine as it is. But then you don't want to add in another one you're waiting for. Then you're just waiting for gear. It's like, oh, hey, do you want to come do this raid? Yeah, I'll be the right item level after my chest opens in a week. Like, just give them the...
I do understand where you're coming from there. It's a difficult thing.
It is, and this is the trouble. See, we're struggling with this. Imagine what Blizzard's going through trying to
they've got to do this for a couple of million people.
Yeah.
It is difficult to kind of really get an idea of how it should be done because you can't apply the mythic chest because like you said you're going to end up with 2 or 3 different chests every week and it's just like, okay, I've done it now, I've got to sit here and wait for 5 days. But then again, you also don't want to be in a situation where people could just go whole ham on it and get insanely powerful in the first week.
Yeah,
it is a difficult balancing act, and it's one that they've had to do for a lot of different things. It's one they've had to do for they've had to do it for mythics and raids and everything else along those lines. But I think the best idea is to have it as an end of run chest, but then how do you know, because at the moment it's every 12 levels it ends, and then you can leave and you can go back in at level 13 fresh. I suppose one way is just you only get your chest at level 12, and then if you want
he's got it.
Weekly lockout is your level 12.
Weathered training scenario.
So you go through until you can't go through anymore.
Yeah.
And then you go into a room at the end.
And it gives you your rewards.
That's also possible, I suppose.
Yeah.
At any point you can kind of click a button to be taken out. That is something that you could do.
True.
Yeah. I quite like that.
Not a bad
It
idea.
turns out that the weather training scenario was actually just prototype Torghast, and no one noticed.
Oh.
Smithlord saying, based on past X-Backs, if Torghast has raid level loot, it will be locked until the raids open. I don't think it's ever been confirmed that it has. I wouldn't be against...
Do you know what I'd like? Don't make it raid level loot. So we've definitely got like Torghast armor sets, right? Just make the armor sets like really cool and really handy and have these really awesome procs, but don't make it so they're just like raid level loot. Just make them so they're like really handy and just serve a purpose in some part of the system.
From what we've gathered, the stuff that the data mined Torghast loot, it's called More Raid, is somehow tied to legendaries. That's apparently going to be the transmog that you kind of build up over Shadowlands that you earn at the end if you keep playing through Torghast.
Oh, I can't wait for those transmogs.
Which is cool. I think you kind of mentioned then. You mentioned that there was obviously the end room that you go to and with the training scenario. That does lend itself really well to the idea behind, you get to a certain level, you then go to a different thing entirely. You have your reward in there, and that's a weekly lockout. That is your weekly lockout there. But you can still do those 12 levels if you want, just to get better, maybe even have it tied, if you do X amount of runs, you've also got the chance to drop stuff. And speaking of dropping stuff, wouldn't we necessarily be against? And this is out there. Would we be against Torghast being open before raids and dropping raid item level loot?
Well, When you
Would
say
we
raid,
be against
when
that?
you say raid item level, do you mean like LFR?
How
Like
about
normal.
they just have raids open from day one?
Oh, big
So
brain
the
move.
leveling is part of the race. So it's a real race.
Ooh.
Like your backtail Wrath style. Wrath and Cataclysm styles, like you hit the cap and you go. Get going.
No, because that's
Oh.
not separating the content, and they'll do it, and then there'll be nothing to do. They don't do that anymore.
Yes, for the 1% of people that clear the raids as soon as they open anyway.
Yeah, I know, but they won't do. They still won't do it. Like
You can never. The
I agree
one
with you,
thing
but
is
they won't.
You never cater to the 1% anyway.
Yet they do.
Except Blizzard keeps doing it.
Yeah, they do. Which is the weird thing.
They keep
That,
designing.
they don't.
Apart from the way they cater to them in PvE and PvP, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm toying with the idea of Blizzard of Torghast offering something outside of that. Maybe I don't know, instead of maybe 5-man loot or something that kind of gives you a helpful kick in that, because
they've said they want to bring sets back in Shadowlands.
Yeah.
They said it's not
So-
available at the start, but they do want to take a look at bringing them back.
They said they haven't worked out how to do it yet, right? So I mean, here's your solution: make Torghast reward set gear. Sets only come from Torghast.
That, yes, I love that. Also, whether this applies to the set gear or not, because I imagine set gear would probably be purples. If we want to kind of take this opportunity to make epics epic again, how about Torghast drops primarily blues, but has chances to drop epics as well?
No. Oh no, because you can't do that. People
Yeah.
won't do it because it doesn't give perps.
Do you?
It
do
gives
you think-
legendaries. God damn it!
I like the idea of Torghast dropping set gear. Do you think that potentially runs the risk of then making it feel mandatory for certain people?
It's gonna be mandatory.
No, I was simply because Rav said it would become mandatory, but realistically, if it's got legendary stuff, it becomes mandatory.
Yeah, if you're going to be a high-end raider, you're gonna have to do Torghast.
Yeah, and the other side of it as well is what is wrong with if you want your character to be the best it can possibly be, which for the I'd say the majority of people that are playing an MMORPG, that's going to be the goal. Is it wrong that it would feel mandatory? You know, if you want to be the best that you can possibly be, but then you don't do half of the content, are you really being the best you can possibly be?
I would find it weird that there's many people who go, yeah, I'm getting Shadowlands, but I'm not doing Torghast. Really, really weird.
Yeah.
Like it's the centerpiece. It is the centerpiece of Shadowlands. So people are definitely going to do it. Sorry, I'm just watching Dunkirk.
Look,
people
I
definitely
don't
do it.
look. This is it. Look, right now I'm like grayscaled. If I move my hands down, come on. There, see it? You see it?
I like how we're discussing Torghast and like Dunkirk's got these color problems. But anyway, for the last 10 minutes of the show, we're not dealing with this. We're dealing with Torghast. But it's going in a good direction though. Like I kind of like how Blizzard's experimenting, Blizzard's listening, we're seeing what's going to happen. People, when Shadowlands comes out, Torghast is going to be sort of mandatory, yes, I suppose. But at the end of the day, why would you avoid Torghast, right? Because only a certain amount of Torghast will be mandatory, right? You'll only have to do so much. You can then do more if you want, I suppose.
It's the main expansion feature. It's like your garrisons, right? It was the main expansion feature. Anyone that thought, oh, it won't be mandatory, was deluded because it's the main expansion
Naturally,
feature.
it's going to.
It's like artifact power. You technically don't have to level your Heart of Azeroth up, but it's the main expansion feature.
Yeah, you kind of do. And I suppose the other side of it as well is if you put this much effort into it would be suicidal to put this much effort into big up Torghast this way and then make it completely pointless.
Yeah,
it would,
yeah. I mean, it's not like they've ever done that before.
Full
Islands, or anything like that. Why would you make a feature? Why would you make a feature and then not really put your all into it?
Yeah, Warfronts, Islands,
the entirety of BFA.
BFA.
Well, so that was
WOD.
That was the core of my previous argument. That was the core of my previous argument. Stop putting timers on everything. Islands were timers. everything else had timers. Like, you got mythic timers, island timers, raid timers, which is basically the enrage. You got timers. Stop putting timers.
But the thing is, like, what do you put instead of a timer that, like, lets you know how well you're doing something? Like, there's a reason speedrunning exists as a genre.
I think the main argument that Farseer kind of put forward when we were talking about it on stream on Thursday was that Blizzard have always done, so it's always kind of been the same, is that you do this, you do this, so for example mythic raids, do mythic raids, you get this gear. If there are enraged timers, you have to do it this well. Same with any of the raids. In Mythic Plus, you have to do it in this time, otherwise you don't get your rewards, which is untrue, because even if you fail the timer, you still get a reward, but you just don't get the extra chests. I think the big thing that Farsi was getting at is, why does everything always have to be a race? Why does it have to be based on, or at least the power side of things? Why does it have to be based on a timer? Why does it always have to be that way? Can it not be a case of everyone always gets this, no matter how well you do it, you always get the same reward for a character progression series? If you then want to reward titles, mounts, and transmog, you then have something in there that kind of helps alongside that. And it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. And Rav says Mage Tower was difficult and didn't have a timer. People really enjoyed the Mage Tower, and
True.
if they can kind of,
I would argue it
tweak
did
that.
have a timer.
Your
Timer
health
was just no like the well, that too, but the timer to the overall piece of content was when the expansion ends, it's gone. That's it. You're against the clock to get it done in that time. You don't get the reward.
I mean, with that
It's
argument,
a much
then,
longer. It's a more abstract timer.
I was about to say, with that argument, then every expansion is just a whole timer. I mean, yes, you're right,
No,
but I mean,
there's not many of the like previous expansions have had entire things removed from them.
That's true. Mage Tower was one of the few.
Yeah, like your
Mage-
Pro Drakes from Wrath at the start.
Proto Drakes from Wrath, challenge mode sets in MOP.
The Undying attempts from what's it called? Trial.
do you think they should put challenge
Like
mode back in?
mentioned
Challenge mode back in.
Well, challenge mode Torghast can now become what challenge mode was.
I was about to say, wasn't challenge mode the very definition of racing against the timer?
Yes, it was.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
it was Mythic Plus, but not.
Yeah.
It was better. Honestly, it was better. It felt better to like see your group on a leaderboard and like get access to gear that no one else had unless they were that good.
That's how they did it with PvP back in Classic, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Torghast is leaning more towards the challenge mode style. It still has its power rewards, but I think they're looking at it almost feels like it's like the Mage Tower and challenge modes had a baby, but the baby was horrific. Like really, really nasty and giant and an eldritch abomination.
And spiky.
Yeah,
Spiky.
exactly. That's how Torghast feels, and that's kind of how it looks as well.
Yeah.
So
it looks great.
It's
It looks great. But
it does look fantastic.
So we obviously we're going to wrap this up now as we're coming to the end. But final thoughts is that Torghast is looking good. I'm glad Blizzard's listening. And I hope we do get to a good balanced middle ground by the time of release. I trust in Blizzard. They've been doing the right step so far to reach that.
And one thing to go alongside that, you mentioning Blizzard are listening, that is the biggest takeaway from all of this, is the amount of times that Blizzard have done something after the community, especially in the last 6 months, the community have said, we would like this change. They have done it. Again, we mentioned before, they've been a bit slow on the uptake sometimes, but they're listening to a lot of the alpha stuff. They're listening to a lot of the stuff in Classic as well.
They're specifically listening to this podcast based on some of the changes they've made.
Yep, specifically, you think you do, but you don't. But I think the other thing as well is the Classic change that happened recently with them actually at the start of a fight logging world buffs, so that you can actually see exactly what's happening alongside those. That's a brilliant change.
I thought you were going to say the other Classic change that happened recently.
Which one was that one?
Black Lotus.
Oh, yeah. That was, funnily enough, the only people that were angry were the
that was
auction
one of
house.
those. Yeah, that was one of those like this is for the community's good. It's like, no, we don't want it. It's like, it's for your own good, damn it.
Well, the thing was, it was almost like, in a weird sort of way, it's when they would turn around and they would say, we're making this change for the people, and all the businesses and all the billionaires are going, no, we don't like this change. It's like, this isn't for you, this is for everyone else.
Like, well, we can't let this happen. And then they start stirring up all the people that aren't them, be like, it's a bad change.
Yeah.
Because he said so.
Without realizing that the people they're telling it's a bad change is the people the change was made for.
But,
No, they
yeah.
realise, but those people will still believe it and be like,
Oh, yeah.
see, they said it's a bad change and they've got all the money, so they must be right. It's like, what?
It's the only way that it could possibly happen.
I want to one day be able to farm Black Lotus on my own and be rich like them, but now I can't.
No.
But yes,
The Azeroth dream is ruined.
The Azeroth dream. Going into the future, when Torghast is finally established, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see how they then adapt and add to Torghast after it's now been done. That's
just-
what I mean.
Whilst you're in the future, can you check on some things for me? Yellowstone,
Yep.
Giant Meteor,
Yep.
and
Jurassic Park, because it's got to
yeah,
happen at
yeah.
some point.
yeah,
Jurassic Park.
those
Cool.
are the three. Like, two of them we don't want. One of them we do want.
Dystopian cyberpunk society. Keanu Reeves is leading the resistance. That's the future.
Oh,
That's
not another one.
yeah. We've already had one of those,
Yeah, there's too
and I
many.
suppose
of them.
we are technically getting a second this year with Cyberpunk, so we'll have to wait and
this
see.
is
on
how-
that.
And
this
then
is how
Matrix
the-
4 next year.
Yeah, Matrix 4.
This is how the cycle happens. It always ends with Keanu Reeves rising up and leading a resistance. It's always how it's been. It's always how it's going to continue to be. I'm sorry.
Actually true.
It's
Actually true.
And that is the best note to leave on. Guys, thank you for
Other
joining-
things that are actually true. Thank you.
Guys, thank you
Yes.
for joining us. This will be the last episode of You Think You Do But You Don't on YouTube.
For
to
now.
let you know. For now, just to let
now.
you know, yep. As we're going through some things, just to remind you guys again, we are still up on the podcast. We're still on Spotify and all the other places that you might be listening to us. So
Yep.
don't worry about your audio listeners. We are not going anywhere. This is just for YouTube.
Who do you think we should raid? Who do you
No
think we
one.
should raid? No, we're going to raid Mad Season Show. I've decided.
You get the links and everything
Okay.
ready for that.
Yeah,
but
you
yes,
set it up,
if you do want to catch us live anyway, just head on over to twitch.tv/Warcraft Radio. We are here doing this live usually every Friday at 7 p.m. BST, 2 p.m. EST. I'm sure the times are still aligned correctly. So this is where we are on Twitch and of course on the podcast and all stuff like that. Check us out on all the social medias. We'll be back again next week. Friday, as far as we're aware, we're back to Friday next week. Yeah, guys?
Yes,
Yep,
that
should
is
be.
true.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anyway, I've been Farseer.
I've been Kexman.
And I've been Dunkirk.
I will see you next week, guys.